We all know William Shakespeare, the most famous author of all time, writer of 37 plays, 154 sonnets, several epic poems, and why we are here today. But what if I told you Shakespeare never wrote a single word?
Welcome to Premiere Scene, I'm William McLaughlan. Tonight we're here to see the new Roland Emmerich film, Anonymous, a controversial look at William Shakespeare.
Because this is a different Shakespeare than the one we know, if that gives you guys carte blanche to kind of create the character of Edward de Vere.
Go on, boss. Why me? Can you repeat the question?
I'm wondering if you, because this is a different William Shakespeare to the one that we've maybe seen before, because you have a different angle on it.
Oh yeah.
If that gives you carte blanche to kind of create the character of Edward de Vere.
Well, there's a certain when it comes a little bit like with the terrain, when you like kind of accept, that William Shakespeare of Stratford didn't wrote it. You all of a sudden the world is open to you because all of a sudden you like kind of feel freed of like certain ties, because I always like believed that the whole literature establishment made this too rigid, to only like kind of believe this one man wrote this plays, and he is not quite, the right candidate for me, at least, and whatever you can read about him doesn't feel like quite the career of a writer. So for me, it was very cool to take on, like just a project where another more, interesting character, meaning, like the Earl of Oxford is the true writer. And when you look at Oxford and the work, there's quite a lot of correlation. There's a lot of overlapping thing. It's quite striking in a way. And I overall, like always thought, this is more like a movie which kind of shows you just a different picture of everything. And that also goes for Queen Elizabeth, which is quite different. So overall, for me, it was probably also for us great to shoot this movie in Germany because we were like far away from London and not that far, but far enough, I think, to kind of have a more different, freer look at things.
If you can tell us about the original script you had, Soul of the Age, and how you went about developing it up to this version of the script.
Yeah, well, the original script was sort of what we would now say is the B plot of this movie. And more just about Ben Jonson and William Shakespeare and Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford. When Roland read it, he very rightly said that he thought it could be about more than that. And so he said, John, let's get into the succession issue of who's going to be the king after Elizabeth, who, as we all know, died without an heir. And that was a wonderful idea, but it required about 20 revisions to the script and about 3 years of solid work. It was quite a bit of heavy lifting.
See, wow. And so how do you keep your focus on a script when you're working on it for that long? Is that a challenge?
No, it's just about focus and attention to detail and not thinking about anything else. I tend to not remember other people's names when I'm in the middle of a script because I'm focused on those people's names. My wife thinks I go crazy when I get that deep into a script.
And what can you take as a writer from the works of Shakespeare?
Everything. I've written the St. Crispin's Day, or I should say I've copied, or I've been influenced, or I've used the St. Crispin's Day speech in Band of Brothers, and even in The Legend of the Guardians. There's a great owl doing St. Crispin's Day.
And would you ever consider adapting one of the Shakespeare works as a script for a movie?
Of course I would. All drama might start from the Greeks, but it all goes through Shakespeare, all of it.
And what's your favorite of his plays?
Henry V, beyond a doubt.
You spoke today in the press conference about learning from the other actors in the film. I was wondering if you can tell us what sort of stuff you learned in this project.
I suppose, oh goodness, what sort of stuff I learned? I suppose I'm always trying to steal from other people who are better than me, and also sort of learning, how to do what we do, and also be nice and sort of try and have a sort of level head about it. And I've been very fortunate in the fact that I've been able to work with people who are incredibly grounded and focused and wonderful actors. And I just love to learn, and I love to watch, and I become inspired by actors that I work with. So I suppose I'm a bit of a leech, really.
And have you done any Shakespeare? And if not, would you have a play that you would particularly like to do, or a character you'd like to play?
I've done a bit of Shakespeare. I used to be in the National Youth Music Theatre when I was younger. We did a adaptation of Midsummer Night's Dream, which we took to the Edinburgh Festival and to the Guildford Ivanano Theatre. Aside from that, I've done stuff at school. Is there any character I'd love to play? I suppose I'd love to play Juliet at some point. I think I'd be good at that.
Your portrayal of William Shakespeare, I wonder if you could tell us what your reaction was on reading the part in the script and how you went about creating your character.
Well, I got sent the script and I was told to look at the part of William Shakespeare. I was quite excited, and then I read it. I was like, that makes more sense. That's why they've sent it to me. And as one of my good friends pointed out, I would never play the real William Shakespeare. So it was fun to play someone who's looks like Shakespeare. When we close our eyes, we have an image in our mind of who Shakespeare is, but he's completely different from that.
And as an actor, is the content of the film particularly exciting, based on your, experience?
I think it's really exciting, and that's the good thing about this movie, is that it's not a dry film or an academic film or a film that is for people cleverer than us. It's for all of us, same as Shakespeare's plays.
And what's your favourite Shakespeare role that you've played yourself?
I don't know. Well, the first time my dad ever saw me act was when I went and did a speech from Julius Caesar to him on the sofa with a glass of wine, and that's when he knew that I might be able to be an actor. So that was probably the best Shakespeare I've ever done.
You played Ben Jonson in the film. Yes. I was wondering how you went about researching your role, and if you read any of Jonson's plays.
Yes, I did read a lot of Ben Jonson plays. Some of them I enjoyed tremendously. Some of them were traumatic. I don't know whether you've ever read Every Man in His Humour or Every Man Out of His Humour, no. But they were hard work.
Volponi's the one I've read.
Volponi's great. Volponi's great. In my sort of weird fantasy, that Jonson in the film would later base Volpone and Mosca on the Earl of Oxford and his little manservant, who you see he's always with him in the film. He's played by an Italian actor called Paolo. That was in my head. That's what then later happened. I don't think anyone will see that me thinking that in the film, unfortunately. But I really like Ben Jonson's, particularly those big plays and Bartholomew Fair and stuff like that. He's like, his language is, it's so, it's really different to Shakespeare. It's so Anglo-Saxon and so fruity and dirty. It's really good. But Every Man Out of His Humour, which is the play you see in the film, is I'm afraid I struggled with that one. It was tough. There were a lot of jokes about Morris dancing in it, and I'm not as familiar with the technicalities of Morris dancing as I should be.
You are the soul of the age.
None of your poems or your plays will ever carry your name.
I was wondering if you had a clear vision in your head for how this film would look and who you would cast when you'd started the project, or if that came around developing.
Well, I had a very big vision in my head, quite epic to be, but then naturally, you always run into budget problems. And only when I shot 2012, it all of a sudden hit me. Yes, I saw the shots we did from of LA before it falls apart, and they were all CG, and there was nothing real anymore. And I said, oh my God, we could build London of the Middle Ages in a computer, and it will probably look very good. And that's when this whole idea was born to do wide shots, to do like helicopter shots. and that opened up the movie for me, and that made it the movie I wanted to make.
Great. And what's your favourite Shakespeare play? And would you ever consider adapting Shakespeare for a film?
Well, my favorite play is Hamlet, but I leave adapting Shakespeare plays to people who understand much more about William Shakespeare than I do. That it would be. I even didn't want to kind of direct the theater scenes in my film, and got a professional to do that, because to direct theater and theater plays is a whole different set of, it's a whole different task.